All right, good morning, Internet. This weekend is Rig Rundown weekend on Reddit Guitar Pedals. So I wanted to run through my pedal board in some of the ways that I usually do. So typically the way I have my pedal board set up is the bottom never really changes. And this looper pretty much always anchors the board. And other times I'll place a different looper at the start of my signal chain, and that's because I like to be able to fiddle with the knobs and have it actually do something, versus when the looper is at the end of the signal, once it's tracked, so to speak, you can't really do anything with it. It just goes out to the board. So I'll just give you an idea of what I do. I'll quickly put down a little loop atop so you can hear how my signal gets affected when I play. So you might hear a little bit of a delay in between what you hear through my phone and what you hear through the computer, which is how I record direct in through GarageBand. So right now I've got both hands free, which is usually how I end most of my videos, where I've looped everything I'm gonna loop and then I just kind of mix whatever I want to. So I'll start with a pedal that I like to use but I don't use as much as I should, is the Cooper Effects Outward. So to be honest, I'm not entirely certain. I don't know the settings at all. I just kind of twiddle the knobs until I get something that I like. Typically it's a little bit more choppy, as I love glitching noises. Pretty much every pedal that comes out that glitches I buy. So that's pretty much how you can hear the change in the size. And I really don't know exactly what's happening. The pedal just does what it does, and you kind of got to go with the flow. So next, I use the tensor a lot. I just recently got it, and I updated the firmware, so most of the digital artifacts that everybody was mentioning when it first came out are pretty much gone. And this pedal I like a lot because it gives you that instant reverse sound, which I enjoy thoroughly. And then typically I use the infinite jets a lot, and I tend to use that with the glitch B mode, set to infinite repeats, with very little drive and mostly wet signal. Sounds like this. So a lot of my videos I will use this setting because I just love it. I love that kind of just tremolo style picking without having to do it. It's really, really, really great. I love it so much. And then down here I have the warped vinyl, which I use to just kind of tone suck, I guess. When I really want to just make it, get rid of all the high end, and then slow down the RPMs, increase the depth. Something I do a lot towards the end of my videos. I just love that sound. It's essentially emulating some of the stuff that Andrew Bird does in a lot of his looping arrangements, where he'll loop some high-end parts on his violin and then he'll half speed it, and he'll kind of he uses a rotary speaker, which kind of I've tried to emulate, but I can't really find anything that's to my liking so far. And then we get to some of the stereo pedals. So this setting I have is double reverse, split left, right with different delay times. Sounds like this. So I set this up because I like the way it pans out, right, left, and because I love the glitching noise, it really kind of accentuates it a little bit more when you have a really hard left, right, just difference in the stereo speaker, which I enjoy very, very much. And then typically I pretty much always have reverb on, and the setting I use most on the Empress reverb is the Go setting, because I just think it sounds the best. From there, I like to, with this sometimes I'll tweak something and I'll put the mix all the way up because I just love the way it sounds. And sometimes I have to make sure that I don't overload the speaker, so I'm constantly looking up to see how my recording's coming out. And I oftentimes have to adjust the output because this thing can get pretty loud if you let it. And so when I'm recording, I will use this as a way to save certain banks or loops rather. So I'll go ahead and capture this loop starting now, and I'll see how close I can get it to a clean loop with the original one, which is still going right now. It's close enough, so I'll turn this down, and now I've just got this one stored. So what I would then do sometimes is clear this loop, and then just start all over again. But if I turn this back up, you can sometimes hear it, and I'll put the dream sequence on, which is giving just a regular octave and then an octave above. So you should be able to hear that loop a little bit better. And of course that's running through everything that I have on. I turned this guy off because it can get a little messy altogether. And one of the things I've been trying to do more is to just really focus on one pedal at a time versus just having all of my pedals on, which is challenging because I love to use all my pedals, and I think that it's a hard thing to deal with when you want to use everything, but oftentimes simplicity is the best thing for most types of music, in my opinion. So I'll stop that. So that loop's done. And you can hear what we have going so far, running through the dream sequence, the tensor, the infinite jets, ecosystem, and the reverb. And then we'll just slowly take some of these off. Oh, it doesn't want to turn off. There we go. And that's just the reverb and the original loop I had going. That's pretty much how I use my board for the most part. Things change from time to time. Like I said in the beginning, I typically don't mess with the bottom half, and this top half is always changing. It's pretty much always changing, depending on how I feel. And for the most part, I tend to use, typically just my guitar for most of my videos. I think it's kind of the looping I try to use. And if you heard that weird noise, that was my dog, who stepped on something and just made some weird sounds. So you got to enjoy me and my space dog Leica. I hope you guys enjoyed the rig rundown. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. And thanks for listening and checking it out.